Welcome back to Sports First, number one in sports. As always, I am your host, Sabotage the Don. We had ourselves a fight night to remember, I guess. Marvin Vettori versus fifth ranked in the middleweight and second ranked in the middleweight, Paulo Costa. I think both had lost to Israel. Israel. The Dawn. Let me check if that's correct. But yeah, Paulo Costa versus oh boy, Paulo Costa. What did I say? Israel? No, I meant Paulo Costa versus Marvin Vettori. But yes, both fighters had lost their previous fights to Israel. This fight was actually scheduled to be because it was scheduled for a middleweight because that's their division, but had to change that up because Paulo Costa, I don't know if he had some injury or something and he just couldn't make the weight somehow or for whatever reason. But we're gonna start her off today with the women's bantamweight. I didn't really catch the majority of the fights today. I didn't realize that it was so soon. I mean, I knew it was. I had heard from Mr. Ariel the Nose Helwani, but I didn't know it's this freaking early. What I think it might have started. Did it start at like 2 o'clock today? Not too sure. It did start at 2. Oh, 3 p.m. But still. So I pretty much caught. I started watching at the Jessica Rose Clark versus Jocelyn Edwards. That fight was So yeah, pretty much I missed about 3 fights. I actually was second round that I started watching women's bantamweight. I mean, really, the most important thing is I caught the Paulo Costa Martin Vettori fight, which was pretty good. Jessica Rose Clark versus Jocelyn Edwards. Just do the breakdown. So I pretty much started at the second round. I was mid second round. Seems like Jessica Rose Park pretty much had the fight controlled the whole way, which she did. Not too much strikings in total. It was around like 140 something, 4130, something like that, around that number of strikes total. But the majority of the fight was on the ground. I mean, I didn't see the first, but from the ending of second all the way till the third, the majority of the fight was on the ground. Jocelyn's corners even told her to try to get her out because they knew they were losing. See, I like that when a corner tells the fighter that, hey, you're losing, because they see it from a perspective of just a better. It's almost a better perspective, because you as a fighter, you're in battle. You really can't think about stuff like that, like, oh, am I losing or am I not? I mean, maybe there's fighters that are really so good that they know when they're losing and when they're winning and stuff. But as the corner, you should know that kind of, you should know what to say to your fighter, so they can ramp it up. But she didn't. Jocelyn didn't put it she kind of tried, but Jessica Rose, she pretty much came back and just took her down again. 11 takedown attempts, 5 completed, so it was pretty much a unanimous win by her. As she gets another dub, she's from New Zealand or Australia, one of the two. Then we went to the lightweight division main event. Grant Dawson versus Rick Glenn. This one was somewhat a controversial fight. Somewhat. During the beginning of the fight, or the promo or whatever it was, Grant Dawson was saying he was gonna show more than his wrestling, but he didn't show more than his wrestling because that's pretty much all he did, to be honest. This fight was. It didn't seem like, to be honest, I thought in total they probably threw 100 strikes. I mean, unless they count. Do they count? I'm not sure on this, but do they count ground strikes? Dang, I totally forgot to. Let's see what happens. Totally forgot to turn that on. But there we go. I'm not sure if I mean, obviously they must count those, like strikes on the ground, because it didn't seem like there was too much strikes while they were on their feet at all. At least I don't remember any, like, because Grant Dawson pretty much took it to the ground right off the bat. Grant was pretty much, 8-0 coming into this fight, 5-0 in the UFC. So, pretty much the biggest underdog in the whole card was Rick Glenn, as Michael Bisping and Paulo let you know that. But I was surprised at the outcome, just because, it was pretty much the very ending that was the best part of the fight. All on the ground. Dawson was pretty much just trying, because he figured that he was winning. Well, I thought he was winning myself. With 71 strikes landed from him, 88 from old boy Glenn. Takedowns, it was 3 for 11. See, there it says that there was no takedowns by Ricky. I guess it was the takedown from Dawson that pretty much got himself into position to get submitted, or not submitted. I guess it looked like he pretty much went out. At the very end, it was an awkward position choke that he had him in. Forget the choke's name, but pretty much had him. He was choking him out, and he had his thumb up, like as in like, hey, I'm good. I'm not out. It was like 11 seconds left. It was crazy. I'm like, oh man, he might actually submit him, and he got so close to doing it, but I don't know. He as in Glenn was saying that he was actually he was pretty much out, and at the very end of the fight, he was on his back, and I didn't know this, that you have to get up after the round is done. I thought this whole time once the round is over, that's it. The decision is made by the judges if the fight isn't, if you don't get submitted or KO'd or whatever. I did not know that, to be honest. But he was on his back, but like Michael Bisping was saying, that it was more fatigue and being tired and stuff. I don't know. For a little bit, it did look like, even when he was first trying to get up, he looked like he was like dozing in and out. Whatever the heck it is. But still, Grant Dawson and Ricky, putting both their names together. But Grant Dawson got himself in a scary position where he could have easily lost, but they got a draw, so obviously they have to run it back, right? I mean, what else would you do? So Grant Dawson, I'm going to guess that's probably going to be a fight night. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a fight night main event from the co-main event. But enough for that one. I felt like I spent way too much on that fight, even though there wasn't too much in that fight. It was pretty much all wrestling. Paulo versus Marvin Vettori. I was looking forward to this fight myself. I like both fighters, to be honest. It seems like a lot of people don't like, or I mean, it doesn't, like from social media, it doesn't seem like too much people like either fighter, because a lot of people are at Israel fight, and Marvin always kind of talks shit about him, and Paulo, for some reason, people just don't like him. I don't know I don't know if they say he juices or whatever, but yeah, people aren't too great on Mr. Paulo Costa. Like I said, he came in overweight. He didn't make weight, as in Paulo Costa. But the main thing for Paulo, I honestly thought there was gonna be a lot more wrestling involved in this fight. Well, because Marvin Vettori is a wrestler, but it seems like he's evolving a little bit more, like more and more into a striker, which is a good thing, because if he wants to get that title, Israel's holding that title, there's no way he's going to win if he doesn't level up his striking, which from this fight, his combinations were on point. But one thing he needs to add, the other dimension is kicking. If he adds kicking to his fighting style, if he adds kicking to it, with his his combinations were pretty good, to be honest. But if he adds a little bit more, I believe that he has this, and I don't know if he could beat Israel, but maybe give a better performance. He did go all 5 rounds, got a really strong jaw, that boy Marvin Vettori. I do like Marvin. Well, I like both fighters, to be honest. I mean, that I don't know if there's a fighter that I really, hey, I'm like that. I'm like that. I'm like that. Um, but total strikes from Marvin 182 landed, 122 landed from Costa, 310 total strikes from Marvin Vettori, which is surprising. Since a lot of times he is the fighter or wrestler. I don't know if you guys remember he fought who was that? Kevin Holland. Was that Kevin Holland? Well, Kevin Holland was obvious. Everybody knows that his wrestling isn't the greatest. It is improving. But I remember that fight, and that fight was just pretty much straight up just dominated by Marvin Vittori's wrestling. Paulo Costa's kicks, man. A couple of them, I felt like they could have easily knocked Vettori into next Sunday. But they didn't. And the body shots, the body kicks. There was one spin kick that he did. Oh my gosh, if he would have landed that, that would have been easily. I believe that could have been a knockout of the year if it would have landed. It just looked so nice, but it didn't land. So, I mean, what can you do about that? Paulo did look tired in the very beginning, but he went all the way and didn't really look like he was out of it. Both fighters landed clean shots, but both fighters have some rock hard jaws, so they don't get knocked out. They don't play around like that. But yeah, pretty much a war out there today. Two takedown attempts from Vettori, 50%. He mainly did that after those headshots, which Paulo Costa did a really good job. His kicking is out freaking standing, to be honest. The body, the leg. I felt like if Paulo would have done that even more from the beginning to the end, Paulo would have easily won that fight, Because Marvin Vettori really wasn't. He didn't have a comeback for that. Even though he kind of did, but he didn't. It was like he would have combinations for that. But at the same time, he would have either took out his legs. His body at the very fourth round, his body his rib area. Well, just body wise, he was taking him out. You saw that his body was pretty much messed up, and that's when he went for one of those takedowns. Even though the first takedown was actually pretty good, but the second one wasn't because Paulo's defense is pretty decent, to be honest. But that'll be it for Paulo versus Vettori Fight Night. Pretty good fight. When either fighter fights, you expect a good fight. Even though the Israel Vettori fight wasn't the greatest fight, because Israel just his defense has gotten better as well. Even though it wasn't so great against what's his name? Was it the light heavyweight? Jan Hoblakovic. Jan. But yeah, even though it wasn't so, but he's the world champion, at the light heavyweight division. So what do you expect, man? But other than that, we got it's not a fight night next. It's UFC. Oh yeah, we got two numbers next, 67 and 68 coming up, and then we got one of my favorite. Oh no, that's Holloway versus Rodriguez. For some reason, I thought it was Holland. But no, we got Holloway coming up too. So we're gonna have two numbers. Then we have Yuri Rodriguez. Oh, actually, Kevin Holland is in that card against Kyle Dukakis. So that's a pretty good fight night right there with Felicia Spencer in there, Song Yadong also in there. So that almost looks like a bunch of fights for a card number, But it's not. It's just a regular fight night, which is cool. With all these, pretty good ending to the year for the UFC, I believe, Shammy said. But that'll be it for our Fight Night edition of UFC. Bye from your host, Sabotage. Comment, like, and do all that other good stuff. We appreciate the views out here.